I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Anger? Here. Commissioner French? Here. Commissioner Garrison?
Here.
Commissioner Kalani?
Here.
Commissioner McGrath? All present.
Any comments from the board? Reports?
This flyer we got, natural disasters, is that something, who's it meant for?
I'm going to explain that in a minute.
Okay, then I don't need to worry about it, no, I have nothing else.
Anybody else? No? Okay. We'll then proceed. Needing approval of the agenda.
I think
The
we
work
were-
session.
Yeah, we were in the work
We're in
session.
the work session.
Oh, right.
Nobody gives a rip,
No.
cancel that rip so
Okay, it's canceled.
Okay.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. Approved. Approvals.
And
We could just,
I'm in a hurry to get home.
See?
I'm
Take this.
Oh, I thought he said approved. I thought he said
they haven't
approved.
voted yet, so.
I know, but I didn't know he was gonna
Or
call.
we could just say, we could do a roll call since it's not.
Commissioner Anger?
Here.
Commissioner French?
What are we doing?
Approve.
Just say yes.
Okay.
Roll call.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Neil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are we doing?
Oh, we're up to the first,
Okay.
action.
Okay, oh, okay. All right.
Okay, action items.
Okay, I move that the board acknowledge receipt of fiscal year 2018 comprehensive annual financial report ending June 30, 2018.
This evening, I'll turn it over to Carol, who will read the good news that you've already heard, actually.
So, as you know, Julie Desimoni, who's a partner with Moss Adams, was here at the December meeting and provided a presentation to the board that the audit was completed and that we had an unmodified opinion. The unmodified opinion is the good one, meaning that we are reporting our financials fairly and appropriately through the financial document. At that time, we were still waiting for the written opinion from them, and we had a few other pieces, components to put together in the cap rate. So you will see that on your desk in front of everybody, you have your printed copy of the 2018 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and you can use that as a reference material. We're going, this is year one against the biennial budget, so we have plenty of room in all of our budgetary categories, which you'll find in towards the back of the document. And I would be happy to answer questions that anybody has about the financial reports.
I have to say kudos to you and your staff, and to you and Todd. This, it's amazing. I mean, I think you guys did a really good job. And all of you saving money. I mean, when I hear, oh, well, we saved 10 grand, yeah. No, it's nice job all the way around, you guys.
Well, thank you very much.
Because I do know of some water districts that are still having problems with theirs.
Well, I really appreciate your comments. This was somewhat of a challenging year for us because our long-term employee had retired last year, so many of the things that she did without a second thought, we had to kind of figure out how to do, but we managed to do that, had a good relationship with the auditors, also had new auditors. The partner is the same, Julie's the same partner that we've been working with, but she had some newer people on staff too that came in and worked with us, but it was a good process and a good outcome.
Very good, thank you.
We need your actual votes on
Yeah.
the acceptance if you don't have any questions.
Ask
Commissioner Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Agenda item 2, I move to adopt resolution number 05-2019, appointing Carol Briggs, CRW's Chief Financial Officer, as the CRW Budget Officer for a biennial period 2019 to 2021.
Second.
I'll again ask you to
So,
proceed.
thank you. Oregon revised statutes requires a budget officer to be appointed. It can be myself or anybody else the board chooses. I have been budget officer every year that we have done a budget since I've been here. This will be our third biennial budget, so we're getting pretty well versed at this. And so now it's up to you to,
Do you want to do it again?
oh, absolutely.
Well, I would be, no.
I consider it part of,
But
part
you know
of my
that,
job.
that old saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so.
You seconded it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
No question. Commissioner Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. The next item, I move to acknowledge the proposed budget calendar is agreed upon for 2019 to 2021 biennial budget. Second.
Second. Rusty, wake up.
Okay, so Carol, again, we'll kind of walk you through the calendar. And this is important because we're setting in dates, the dates that we're gonna be noticing as far as public meetings and so on. So we wanna make sure that these work.
Right, so, hopefully this does work with everyone's schedule. We've got the January 10th appointing the budget officer, so that one's done. Bullet number 2 on that is to schedule date for the budget committee meetings. We're required by law to have one budget committee meeting. We can have as many as it takes to produce an approved budget from the proposed document that myself and my staff and the whole team here at CRW will be putting together. We are also anticipating, we have 3 openings on the budget committee, so we are anticipating appointment of budget committee members at the February 12th meeting. And that, again, February 12th is a Tuesday meeting, not the normal Thursday because of the SDAO, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
So,
We want to meet on Valentine's Day.
so anyway, that is on the schedule, and we have advertised for budget committee members, and am I stealing your thunder here, Todd? We do have some applicants, so I think that we will be in a position to appoint budget committee members at that February 12th meeting. Then we move on to our requirements to publish notice about the meetings, and then my staff's commitment to deliver the proposed budget to the budget committee members on April 11th, which also happens to be a regular board meeting, so we'll be able to hand deliver them to the board members, and then we will have them delivered to other budget committee members. So we've scheduled 3 meetings. April 18th would be the first meeting, which is 1 week after the regular board meeting. April 25th would be the second meeting, if needed, which would be 1 week following that. But then we get to the 3rd week, putting it on a Thursday, there were some conflicts with activities that people needed to do. So we are suggesting April 30th, which is a Tuesday, for the 3rd meeting, again, if needed. Once the budget is approved by the budget committee, then we have publishing requirements to advertise for the budget hearing, which is where the board will look at the approved budget and will adopt that budget either as approved or as modified by the board during that meeting. And that's scheduled for the June 13th regular meeting, so that we have an adopted budget before June 30th. So if there's any concerns about those dates,
These times are all in the evening, 6
yes,
o'clock? Okay.
yes.
I have a meeting in Milwaukee on February 12th at 7 PM, so that's a conflict for me in that I could probably only be there for the first 30 minutes.
And the February 12th is the regular CRW board meeting. And
Oh,
my guess is we would likely do the budget committee appointments first.
I'll make other arrangements for the other meeting then.
And I have reached out to the applicants, and I have invited them all to that February 12th meeting. There's actually not a requirement that they attend, but I have certainly invited them and welcomed their attendance at that meeting.
I mean, when you say it's the regular meeting, it's not the regular meeting day.
Correct.
Yeah, it would, because because Thursday falls on Valentine's Day, I guess people.
I'll go along with that. Okay, thank you. I can work that out.
So,
Any other questions, comments? Okay,
Ready to vote?
yeah,
Accept
so,
that?
Commissioner Eger?
Yes,
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes?
Commissioner Kalani?
yes.
Commissioner McNeil? Motion passes unanimously.
okay. Agenda item 4.
can I?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have just one more thing that I should have mentioned already. I did send out information about the basic local budget law training. Commissioner French has come and she would like to attend that. So I have gathered, I've downloaded the materials, we haven't yet printed them. I wanted to see if anybody else wanted, and then also the training is on March 7th, so the new budget committee members may also want to attend, but I will get those materials to you before that date.
March 7th, what day of the week is that and what time?
It's from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Out of community college.
and it's a Thursday. Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Yeah, we were handed a meeting calendar at the beginning of the year, or near the beginning.
Mhm.
Do we need to add these dates to that calendar? They weren't on there, or were they?
The budget committee
The budget
dates,
committee dates.
they were probably not on there because we've been going
So
through and
we
determining when they'll
need
be,
to
so.
Yeah,
Plug in the ones that are not a regular board meeting.
Right, yeah, I went to
Right.
my calendar and did
So
that
the-
right away.
The February regular board meeting was on that calendar,
On the 12th?
yeah.
Okay.
And then, so what we have not added is the budget committee
Right.
meetings, and so we'll add that to the electronic calendar.
Okay, thank you.
So, I probably can't go, but I'm just curious, what kind of information is at this workshop?
I've attended this workshop a couple of times, and in fact, I may have, either myself or some of my staff might attend this one. It is really good training as far as reminding everybody what the requirements are for producing, approving and adopting a budget. The one caveat I will say is that it is more focused towards taxing districts, and so they will talk a lot about property tax that we don't do here.
Oh, I see.
So there will be a chunk of it that, you can take a little nap or whatever, because
It says bring your own beverage, so hey.
So, but they do talk a lot about the requirements for property tax and how you have to do that within the budgetary process that doesn't pertain to us. But all of the other information does, and it's generally a pretty good presentation. I can certainly provide the materials to everyone on the board and all of the budget committee members, and whether you go or not, you'll see the presentation. and
Yeah,
you
that'll be
can
good.
Read some of the stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, I will do that.
Oh, should I move on now? Okay. Okay. I move to award a professional services contract to West Yost Associates for design and construction services associated with the Edgewood Waterline project for an amount not to exceed $166,929 and authorize the general manager's signature on the completed contract.
Second.
So Joe is our engineering manager and project manager for this project, so I'll have him give the report.
Thank you, Todd. Good evening, Commissioners. This is a project CIP budgeted for this biennium. We have selected West Yost as our consultant. This authorization, their work scope includes route selection, survey, design, construction administration, and inspection of this project. And the base project, as the map indicates, starts at Hatton Road, where we're currently running new water line, and goes to the end of the cul-de-sac at the top of the hill on Edgewood Street. Now, we're in the process of evaluating the remaining CIP budget for the biennium. We had some transfers that allow us to expand the project, but we don't know exactly what that number is, and we didn't want to oversell our budget. So our initial contract with West Yost will be only for Edgewood Street, which is the red on the map. If in our analysis, we find that we can afford additional water line replacement. One or both of these other two streets will be added to the project.
So I had a question, is this a new line or a repair of an old line? I guess
There's an existing 6-inch steel line. We fixed a number of leaks over the years.
Okay.
And it's just that part of the country that heats up steel water lines.
Okay.
So this is just another project to replace those.
Okay.
What are the ages of the water lines in that area? Are they all about the same year?
They're really old. On the map, if you look closely, there's a date underneath the red line, 6-inch OD 1960.
Oh, okay.
What that indicates, when there's not in every case, but on our mapping, if we don't have really good records, and we know that it's older, we try to date it at the beginning of the decade rather than, so if it said 1970, we would believe it was being built in the 70s. Here we believe it was built in the 60s, maybe even as old as the 50s. Now, this is part of the Holcomb water district that we absorbed some years ago. So when we absorb those smaller districts, well, historically, the old timers didn't keep a lot of good records in the first place, and then we get to inherit that.
Any other questions?
What would you say the likelihood is that as you progress, you will end up replacing all three of these water lines?
I would say 50-50 right now.
As
There's
we
another
see-
there's another project that wasn't in the CIP that we really want to do. And it's another old steel line on Forsyth Road out of the St. John South area that we've had a lot of leaks on. And what we're trying to determine through our analysis of the budget, the remaining budget, is how much of that really rotten part we can replace, whether we do a larger portion and save these other two streets for later, or whether we can do it all, or whether we do a small piece and add on to this one because it's already a program. I don't have a good answer for you right now.
But you have a sense of what you want to do and what your priorities are.
Yeah, and it's becoming heightened because of the budget process that we're starting. I'm starting to collect projects that we want to do in the next budget. So,
Oh, we got a handful of them.
well, yeah, it's a big project. If you look at your copy of the master plan, you see what kind of need we have. Their dollar value doesn't come anywhere near what we can actually spend per year.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? All right,
Need to vote.
vote.
Commissioner Ranger?
Yes?
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes?
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, go on to the next one. I move the board accept the purchase of a water line easement on TL 900 map 2S 2E 12D in the amount of $10,000 as described in Exhibit B and authorize the general manager to sign the easement document.
So Joe will continue with the
Yeah,
next
but
one.
Second.
Long-winded.
Wait, did you get a second?
I didn't hear
Second.
the word.
Second.
Go, Joe.
Sorry, it's a long-winded motion, but we're trying to identify a particular lot in a county and tax maps. So that's where that comes from. This is an easement to allow us to do some work on backbone project number 5, which is a 224 intertie. This is, as you can see on the map that I provided, it's actually a portion of the design plans. One sheet shows where we connect at the far side of 212 onto the pipe bridge that was installed back in the early 2000s. We come across 212, and that intersection is crowded with power and signals and sewer and everything. And so we talked to the landowner, and he was amenable to providing us an easement where we could get out of the way of everybody else,
Okay.
skirt along his property line, and then get out of the intersection, out of the way of the signals, and then get back into the highway to do the remainder of the project. So we've been in discussions with the landowner, we've negotiated the price, and he's ready to close with your approval.
Wow.
So my question is this a CIP or is this part of the backbone?
This is a backbone project.
Okay. So it means it would come out of the backbone funds. Okay.
And the price is within the range that we've been paying for these kind of property acquisitions.
For vote?
Ready? Commissioner Ranger?
Yes?
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, that's all we've done here. Okay. I move the board authorize the purchase of a water line easement on TL 900 map 2S 2E 12A in the amount to be determined as and described as in Exhibit B and authorize the general manager to sign the easement document when complete.
Yeah, this is a.
I need a second.
Oh, a second.
Pardon me.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is a sister easement to the same project.
Yeah.
Across the street where we enter on from the pipe bridge and then go underground until we get to our horizontal bore within the ODOT right-of-way. We've been discussing this. This is a parcel owned by Providence Healthcare System. We've been discussing with them, but they're reticent in returning phone calls and emails. The last time I talked to them, they were sitting down to talk about it, but well, is that even our property? So this is an investment property that they have, but apparently they lost track of it. So I've been getting a cold shoulder, and so because time is of the essence on this project, I wanted to get it in front of the board in order to get your approval to at least get an upper limit that we could spend on this. Hopefully we negotiate something less than this, but that way we can not If we come to an agreement tomorrow, then we have to wait a month before I come back to you. So I just wanted to get this in front of you and get your approval to chase it.
Any questions?
I had a question. The amount, it says not to exceed the amount, it's board action requested, but it's not in the motion itself. I was wondering about that.
I think that's important.
Yeah, it says in the amount to be determined and described, but it isn't until we get down to board action requested that we actually have an amount of money. So I don't know whether that needs to be added to the motion.
Should we restate the motion then?
I move that we amend the motion to include the amount $7,300.
Is there a second?
Second.
And strike the words "to be determined."
In the amount not to exceed.
Pardon?
Not to exceed.
Not to, that's correct, not to exceed $7,300. Your second cover that?
Yes, second.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Question?
So you want to first vote on the motion to amend.
Right.
Right, Robert's rules.
Okay, vote on
The amendment.
So, you want to move to amend?
Right,
We have a motion to amend.
right.
So I just have a second.
Yeah.
Commissioner
There was
Andrews.
a second.
Okay. So, Commissioner Andrew?
Yes,
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
So
Okay,
now
now-
you can
Now we
vote.
have to-
Now you
Did
can
we read it?
Now you
no, I
You
think
don't
we just
need
have to move on the main motion.
can, so you ready for that?
Vote on
Yeah,
the motion.
yeah, has been
Commissioner Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Good luck.
Thank you. Just one piece of information on this project. It was advertised for bids yesterday. And we opened bids on the 29th, and we'll be coming to you in February meeting for, hopefully with a construction contract.
So you want to get your right-of-way covered before.
We're trying to get all this stuff, and we,
That's why I said good luck.
another piece about that is that we haven't acquired the ODOT permit yet either. It's been applied for some weeks ago. I've been in discussions with them, we've modified, we've received comments, we've modified the plans to accommodate those comments, but I just haven't received the permit yet.
Do you foresee any problems there?
No,
Okay.
they're busy.
At least they're not shut down.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. So we're up to the next action
Number
item.
7.
I move the board approve the first amendment to the amended and restated employment agreement for the general manager and authorize the board president to sign on behalf of the district.
Second.
Good evening, Commissioners. After an inquiry from Commissioner McNeil, I did some analysis of the cost of living adjustment provision in the general manager's employment agreement. Did a little bit of research into the history, talked to the general manager, spoke with Commissioners Kalani and French as they were doing agenda setting, and based on that came up with the recommendation that you see here in your packet. The cost of living adjustment provision in the current general manager's agreement ties that cost of living adjustment to the amount that is set in the collective bargaining
Right.
agreement. The recommendation is that that be changed, that that provision be stricken, and instead it is replaced with a cost of living adjustment set at a flat 2%, with discretion to the board to increase that if it chooses to do so. It's absolute discretion on the board's part on whether, on whether to do that. And based on whatever
Criteria.
the board might decide is appropriate to look at there. The only other thing that this amendment does is ratify increases in the past to make it clear that those are board decisions ratified after the fact, and sets in place the current compensation for the general manager as well, which is set at his current compensation amount. Going forward, the cost of living adjustment provision would kick in and it would be the 2%.
I have a question. What was the cost of living in the contract for the represented union members? I don't remember what it was. Was it
The provision in the collective bargaining agreement provides that it's tied to the CPI, and it has brackets. There's a minimum and a maximum that can be 2%.
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
2 to 4, that's what we agreed.
And then my other question is, has it been pretty much around 2%? What has been the increase for the contract? So
Well, the most recent increase was, I have to, 3.9. We had a spike in the CPI last year after a long period of time when it was hovering at that, as I recall, 2 and maybe a little less, a little more. It spiked last year at 3.9.
And that's what they gave them.
Okay, so my other question is, on the, at the Sunrise one, which you have been going to, is that how it's set up over there? That they give?
They gave him 3.9 cost of living and a $5,000 attaboy. What do you call
It
it?
was 3 point, yeah, I read 3.5.
Was it 3.5? 3.9, stuff like that, but
Okay,
I'll go back and look.
but that was the decision of the board.
Right,
wasn't
that was
on
their decision.
Okay, and then my other question is, because we've kind of gotten off track in terms of the timetable for doing all this, when does it come up again that we would decide?
March,
March,
that's
that's
what it
the,
says in the packet. Yeah.
okay,
We agreed.
okay. Thank you, I think all my questions have been answered.
Anything else? We shall vote.
Commissioner Ranger?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
I think we're just up to the consent agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we are.
Yep.
We're done with that. Okay.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, on the,
Ready to vote?
yes.
Commissioner
Nobody had
Ranger?
any questions there.
Commissioner Ranger?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Management report.
All right, in your packet, you have agenda item 8, which is the management report. A couple things to point out. First off, in your folder, you have a few items. One, you have your W-2 form, so I'll make sure you're aware of that, so important for your tax information. You also have your monthly reports. That's included in your packet. We'll give you the statistics of what's been accomplished for this last month. You also have a copy of a memo from Bob Steringer that was previously emailed to you, so this is just a hard copy, it's nothing different on that. And then last month, on to Commissioner Andrews' question, last month I mentioned the different business forums and work with Water Environment Services, Clackamas County, and kind of talking more broadly about water resiliency in the county and what's being done and so on. So I was asked to participate in that, so that flyer is just to make you aware of That's the first forum that's being sponsored at Clackamas Community College. So
And what kind of people are attending that?
this one, I'll be honest, I'm not positive exactly. My understanding is it's a variety of folks, that more the technical, but it's open to anybody. It's open.
So there'll be an agenda put out.
They just had, it's a panel with 4 speakers.
So there's no agenda. No.
It's right here, I mean, other
Well, I
than what
mean,
you said.
nothing more detailed.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then as far as in your written reports and things, just to highlight is, last meeting we did, there were some questions about the Clackamas Regional Center mobility projects. And so included in your report is the website that has a lot more information and maps and even a animation of the different projects that they're going to be doing. This is a project that we are working to try to determine the impacts. Joe's working on that to try to determine the impacts to our water lines and working to coordinate with the county on that. Also wanted to touch on the fact that the Regional Water Providers Consortium has recently completed a survey and as it relates to customer attitudes regarding emergency preparedness, conservation, and just kind of the effectiveness of some of those programs. I'll be sharing some of those results with you at probably the next work session as we get those back. Also, just a reminder, we launched the CRW websites, and so it has an updated look, has more improved search features, and it gives us a little bit more flexibility in some of the things that we can change. So if you haven't had a chance, please make sure you take a look at that. As it relates to the VHF radio system, we continue to make progress. So we're on that part of the project where we're procuring equipment or getting the procurements going, so we can get moving on actually getting the system built. So we're pretty excited about
I
that.
haven't heard anything on the calendar, just dead.
Right. Were you talking?
I said, I haven't heard anything on the calendar, it's just dead.
We did get a report from the operations crews that they are using them at night.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Under-
Haven't been listening to that.
Let's see, one of the things, just I think it's a little bit unique with under the safety report is we're going to be actually doing a kind of a 3-step safety training for employees. And so it's going to involve the first step is a defensive driving step where we actually get to use SDAO's driver simulator system that they actually hook up to a CRW vehicle, and so that gives you a chance to actually go through different defensive driving or driving scenarios and so on. So we'll be doing that, and then the second step will be a hazard recognition and response process that one of our safety committee members has organized. And then the third step is we always do fire extinguisher training, and one of the things that staff has complained about is, gee, we're tired of the online stuff, let's actually use some of this stuff. And so we're coordinating with Clackamas Fire to have them come out and let folks actually see how well they do with the PASS system.
Are you going to the training center?
No, they're bringing it here.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be great, because we'll have all 3 events, so you just kind of rotate through every 15 minutes for folks. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a unique thing. As it relates to staffing, just wanted to let you know, I mentioned previously about Kirk Saval retiring. We have another retirement coming up, Mike Avery, we're retiring this month. After, I put 28 years, but it's actually 26 years. I was giving 2 years credit there. But after 26 years, over 26 years is our water quality.
As long as we don't give it to them on purpose.
Yeah, there you go. No, don't want to do that. In looking ahead, some things just to be aware of is please note that the January work session is going to be held on a Tuesday, January 22nd, and that's different from our normal schedule. This is due to the fact that Monday is a holiday. Monday, January 21st is a holiday. At that work session, planning to have an update from the Clackamas Rural Water Providers Administrator, and also as part of the contract, one of the things I'm supposed to do is bring you the board goals that we need to work on. So I'll bring you an initial draft of goals that you can then review and provide feedback and direction on. Also note, I mentioned the 21st is a holiday, so our offices will be closed in observance of Martin Luther King Day. And then also, I will be out of the office from January 26th through February 2nd, Saturday to Saturday, so Carol Bright will be my acting in charge during that time. So I've got her email and phone number in there. And then also just a reminder, SBAO annual conference is going to be coming up in February. So we've got Commissioner Andrew registered to attend that conference as well. As far as some things that aren't, I really don't have a whole lot, other than, because I think actually you guys kind of spoiled the rest of the things. So Budget Committee, we talked about that. We have 3 open positions, and so far we've received 3 applicants so far, so that's good. And then we also, Joe mentioned the advertisement for the Highway 224 project, and then next week we'll also be advertising our water treatment plant facilities plan, water master plan project as well. So we'll get those going. And you don't have any executive session or anything else?
I do have another question for Bob Steringer, back to the old subject. Because we were talking about the CPI being 3.9%. When we get to March, are we going to know what the union people will be getting? And will it be on the March agenda to be looking at this?
Well, the agenda will be determined by the chair. And
right.
So that will be their decision. I'd have to ask whether we'll have that information from
I
them.
believe the CPI that we use goes through December 31st, so we will have that number.
Yeah, so we use the December 31st CPI number to determine the July.
The July
what
increase.
Increase happens in July 1.
Okay.
So do we use Portland's or do we use the modified ones?
We use the CPI W.
Modified. Yes.
The Portland Salem. It's the Portland Salem CPI W.
Okay.
But that's something that's going to go away starting January 1.
We can go away.
Why is that?
The Bureau of Labor and Statistics isn't going to produce that anymore, so they now have an alternate.
Is Portland State going to do it?
No, they'll still do. They have now.
They have like a western region.
Yeah, it's actually a different. It's a. Oh shoot. Yeah, I was going to say there's actually I think 3 different versions. One's a Pacific, one's a mountain, and I think a western too. So, and then there's kind of 3 criteria: it's location and then population size. And so, the nice thing is there's actually one that will state that references Clackamas County. So,
Oh, okay. That is.
Have you done any more on getting this out of this building and get that back on the tax roll? Let's talk about it.
yeah. So.
Rush.
Yeah. Nothing. We've had the conversations. One thing BCA is our tenants. The person that's head of the program, his last day was actually on last Friday, so they've got a new person. I checked in with him before he left, and he just apologized that they haven't done anything, and that it was all stuck in corporate in California as far as what they want to do. And then they have a project that's kind of got them focused right now on the other side of the buildings over there.
Just be nice to get this back on the tax roll.
Well, someone else comes
School
in
district
and
appreciate
makes
it
an
on the
offer,
first.
so we can use that, yeah. We aren't committed to them.
So they do have a first right of
Yeah, we
refusal
are.
as part of
Yeah,
their,
first right of refusal.
as part of their.
But if they don't accept it, or if they don't
If they don't take it.
Yeah, so right now we have a lease, so one of the things that I have not had direction from the board is if you wanted to actually actively put this on the market. We've only talked about inquiries from our tenant because of the first right of refusal, and because they hadn't broached the subject with us. But since then, they haven't done anything with that. So we haven't went any further. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Anything from the commission? Anybody have any comments, questions?
No question.
Glad to see I'm not the only one who hands in reimbursement reports by the handful, handwritten.
I've been doing mine online, but it's really goofy the way it comes up on my iPad. It's not very good. But I will
It's perfect.
continue working with it.
Don't
I have a good excuse for mine.
Well, that's okay. It works well enough.
The only thing I is at Sunrise, I mean, Todd,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of the stuff, they did have, an additional, they had put Andy Coates on and swore him, I keep wanting to say swore out, but swore him in. And then last meeting, they took their 1B, and because Stan Tempchin is going back to work, basically, and he resigned, so they put in Gary Barth. He's got quite a bit of experience. He was the commercial banking director, or got experience in commercial banking. He was the director of business services at Clackamas Community College. So he is now there, hopefully, the last commissioner will have for a while, but then I think a lot of you are up for re-election, because he is in a few months, but they're all willing to redo that, so we apply. And other than that, so they're full. Good for all.
Very good. Nothing else? Go on.